There's a mushroom that eats poison and turns it into food. It devours heavy metals, breaks down pesticides, and cleans contaminated soil while producing protein-rich mushrooms that can feed your family. This isn't science fiction, it's mycoremediation, and it's been solving pollution problems for millions of years. One mushroom species can clean soil contaminated with diesel fuel in just 90 days. Another can extract mercury and lead from poisoned earth and concentrate it safely in its tissues, leaving clean soil behind. Scientists have proven this technology works better than any industrial cleanup method ever invented. It's cheaper, faster, and produces food instead of toxic waste. So why isn't every contaminated site on Earth being cleaned with mushrooms? Because there's no profit in a solution that works too well and costs almost nothing. Welcome to where we uncover the solutions they don't want you to know about. If this is your first time here, subscribe and hit the bell, because what I'm about to show you could clean your garden soil and feed your family at the same time. This is knowledge that could revolutionize how we think about pollution, but the cleanup industry has buried it deeper than the contamination itself. The mushroom I'm talking about isn't some exotic species from a distant rainforest. It's oyster mushrooms, one of the most common edible fungi on Earth. You can buy them at any grocery store, but what they don't tell you is that these same mushrooms are nature's most powerful pollution cleaners. They can break down oil spills, digest pesticide residues, and extract heavy metals from soil while producing pounds of nutritious food. Here's how it works. Mushroom roots, called mycelium, are like underground chemical factories. They release enzymes that break down complex pollutants into harmless compounds. Heavy metals get absorbed and concentrated in the mushroom tissues, effectively mining poison out of the soil. Pesticides and herbicides get decomposed into basic elements that plants can actually use as nutrients. It's biological alchemy that turns contamination into food. But this technology threatens multiple billion-dollar industries simultaneously. Soil remediation companies charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to clean contaminated sites using chemicals and machinery. If property owners knew they could clean the same soil for a few dollars worth of mushroom spawn, the entire industry would collapse overnight. Environmental consulting firms would lose clients who could solve their own problems. Chemical companies would lose customers who no longer need expensive cleanup products. So mycoremediation research gets minimal funding, scientific papers get buried in obscure journals, and the general public never learns that mushrooms could clean up decades of industrial damage while producing food. It's not a conspiracy, it's just business. Solutions that work too well and cost too little don't generate enough profit to sustain entire industries built on expensive, complicated alternatives. The evidence for mycoremediation is overwhelming. After the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, scientists discovered mushrooms growing in the most radioactive areas, actually thriving on radiation that would kill any other living thing. These fungi weren't just surviving, they were breaking down radioactive compounds and reducing contamination levels. Nature had already evolved the perfect cleanup crew. It just took humans decades to notice. In the Amazon, researchers found mushrooms that can digest plastic pollution, breaking down synthetic polymers that normally persist for centuries. Oil companies have used mushroom treatments to clean up petroleum spills, achieving better results than chemical dispersants at a fraction of the cost. The U.S. military has tested mycoremediation for cleaning contaminated bases, with success rates that exceed conventional methods. Yet none of this technology has gone mainstream. Environmental agencies still recommend expensive chemical treatments for soil contamination. Farmers still struggle with pesticide-poisoned fields that could be cleaned naturally. Homeowners still pay thousands for soil replacement, when mushrooms could restore their gardens for almost nothing. The suppression goes deeper than just economic interests. Mycoremediation represents a fundamental challenge to the industrial mindset that created pollution problems in the first place. It suggests that nature already has solutions for human-made problems, that biological systems work better than technological ones, that the answer to contamination isn't more chemicals but living organisms that evolve to process complex compounds. This threatens the entire narrative that environmental problems require high-tech, expensive solutions managed by experts and corporations. If mushrooms can clean pollution better than industrial methods, what does that say about our approach to environmental management? What does it say about the necessity of the massive cleanup industry that employs thousands of people and generates billions in revenue? Now let me show you how to use this technology in your own garden. Whether your soil is contaminated with old pesticide residues, heavy metals from nearby industry, or just depleted from years of chemical agriculture, mushrooms can restore it while producing food for your family. This isn't theoretical, it's practical knowledge you can apply immediately. Start with oyster mushrooms because they're the most aggressive decomposers and easiest to grow. You can buy oyster mushroom spawn online or from specialty suppliers. This is just mushroom mycelium growing on sterilized substrate, ready to spread into your soil. 1 pound of spawn can treat hundreds of square feet of contaminated soil. Prepare your contaminated area by loosening the soil and adding organic matter. Mushrooms need carbon-rich materials to fuel their cleanup work. Straw, wood chips, cardboard, even shredded paper works perfectly. The more organic matter you add, the more aggressively the mushrooms will work to break down pollutants. Mix the mushroom spawn into the top few inches of soil along with your organic matter. Water the area thoroughly and cover with a layer of straw or cardboard to maintain moisture. The mycelium will spread through the soil, releasing enzymes that break down contaminants while building a network of fungal threads that improve soil structure. Within weeks, you'll see mushrooms sprouting from the treated area. These are safe to eat as long as you're not dealing with extreme contamination like heavy industrial pollution. The mushrooms concentrate pollutants in their tissues, but at levels that are typically safe for consumption. However, if you're treating seriously contaminated soil, harvest the mushrooms and compost them rather than eating them. Their job is cleaning, and they'll do it whether you eat them or not. The real magic happens underground. As the mycelium spreads, it's constantly processing pollutants, breaking down toxic compounds, and improving soil biology. Beneficial bacteria and other microorganisms follow the fungal networks, creating a thriving ecosystem that continues cleaning long after the visible mushrooms disappear. For pesticide contamination, oyster mushrooms are particularly effective. They produce enzymes that break down organophosphates, carbamates, and other common agricultural chemicals. Studies show they can reduce pesticide residues by up to 90% in just a few months. Your soil goes from poisoned to productive, while you harvest pounds of protein-rich mushrooms. Heavy metal contamination requires a slightly different approach. Certain mushroom species, particularly shiitake and wine cap mushrooms, are excellent at absorbing lead, mercury, cadmium, and other toxic metals. They pull these contaminants out of the soil and concentrate them in their fruiting bodies. After harvest, the contaminated mushrooms can be safely composted or disposed of, leaving clean soil behind. The process is remarkably efficient. One study found that mushrooms could remove more heavy metals from contaminated soil in 6 months than conventional remediation methods achieved in several years. The cost difference is even more dramatic. Chemical soil remediation can cost $50,000 per acre. Mushroom remediation costs less than $500 for the same area. But the benefits go beyond just cleaning contamination. Microremediation actually improves soil health in ways that chemical cleanup cannot. The fungal networks increase soil water retention, improve nutrient cycling, and create habitat for beneficial microorganisms. You're not just removing pollutants, you're building a living soil ecosystem that will support healthy plant growth for years. This is why the technology threatens established industries. It doesn't just solve the immediate problem, it prevents future problems by creating resilient biological systems. Chemical cleanup removes contaminants but leaves dead soil that's vulnerable to future contamination. Mushroom cleanup creates living soil that actively resists pollution and supports abundant plant growth. The protein production is a bonus that makes the economics even more compelling. Oyster mushrooms contain all essential amino acids, making them a complete protein source comparable to meat. They're rich in vitamins, minerals, and compounds that support immune function. While your soil is being cleaned, you're harvesting nutritious food that would cost $20 per pound at health food stores. You can scale this technology from a small garden bed to entire properties. Farmers are using microremediation to restore fields damaged by decades of chemical agriculture. Homeowners are cleaning up contaminated lots and turning them into productive gardens. Communities are organizing mushroom cleanup projects for abandoned industrial sites. The applications are limitless because pollution is everywhere, and mushrooms can process almost any organic contaminant. Old gas stations with petroleum-contaminated soil, agricultural fields with pesticide residues, urban lots with heavy metal contamination from decades of leaded gasoline, residential areas with herbicide damage from lawn treatments. All of these can be cleaned naturally while producing food. Yet environmental agencies still recommend expensive chemical treatments as the first option for soil contamination. Consulting firms still sell complex remediation plans that take years and cost fortunes. The cleanup industry continues operating as if biological solutions don't exist, despite overwhelming evidence that mushrooms work better than anything humans have invented. This isn't ignorance, it's institutional resistance to solutions that threaten established profit models. Mycoremediation represents a shift from expensive, centralized cleanup managed by experts to affordable, decentralized restoration that anyone can implement. It threatens the expertise monopoly that justifies high consulting fees and complex regulatory processes. But the knowledge is spreading, despite institutional resistance. Permaculture practitioners are teaching mycoremediation workshops. Environmental activists are organizing community cleanup projects using mushrooms. Farmers are discovering they can restore damaged soil while growing valuable crops. The technology is too effective and too affordable to suppress forever. Your contaminated garden soil isn't a permanent problem requiring expensive professional intervention. It's an opportunity to demonstrate that nature already evolved solutions for human-made pollution. Every square foot you clean with mushrooms proves that biological systems work better than industrial ones, that living solutions are more effective than chemical ones. The mushroom that eats pollution and feeds your family isn't just cleaning your soil. It's challenging the entire framework of environmental management that keeps people dependent on expensive experts and complicated technologies. It's proving that the answers to our biggest problems might be growing right under our feet. If this opened your eyes to what's possible with biological solutions, hit like so more people can discover this buried knowledge. Subscribe because we're uncovering more natural technologies that could revolutionize how we solve environmental problems. Share this with someone who's dealing with contaminated soil or just wants to understand how nature cleans up human messes. The mushroom cleanup revolution starts with understanding that pollution isn't permanent, and solutions don't have to be expensive. Sometimes the most powerful technology is the one that's been working for millions of years, waiting for us to remember how to use it.